Good afternoon, sports fans from all around the globe. I am your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your midday market report for Wednesday, June 1st, 2022. Our weekly trip across the border, as we get to sit down with the one and only Andrew McInnis, the pucks, props, and playoff expert, as the NHL Western Conference Finals started last night. And if you missed it, holy cow, you could have ran to the bathroom, made a quick sandwich, grabbed a beer, and missed 3 goals just in a blink of eye. So if you liked action, you got action. So without further ado, let's bring him in, the one and only Mr. Andrew McInnis.
Hello, hello.
Good afternoon, Andrew. How are you?
Good afternoon. Doing great. I wish I was wearing a nice golf shirt and on a golf course like you, but doing very well. And what a game that was last night. And I have to say, I've been keeping tabs on your TikTok there, and I saw you had one blow up a little bit about Igor Shesterkin stealing games and being a great goaltender. Look forward to talking about him today.
It was funny. I was on with Matt and Dave last week, and it was game 5 in Carolina. And we had talked about the one man in the planet that could do this and stand on his head and steal a game was him. Well, obviously, he didn't do it in game 5. They go back to Madison Square Garden where they win. And we kind of juiced it up again for game 7. And that was the one guy. My take going into 7, he wasn't the only man in the planet that could steal a game. He's the only man on the planet that can keep the Lightning from going to their 3rd Stanley Cup.
Absolutely. It's exciting to see. I'm curious to find out if the Rangers can play in some high scoring games, because I do believe that as much as it's being made out to be a dead nut under series, we're going to get some games that are going to feature some goals. So we'll see what happens when it's not just the Shesterkin show. But what's that old saying, Jeff? Big time players make big time plays in big time games. I got to tip my hat as well to Zibanejad, to Kreider, even a guy like Andrew Kopp, a veteran in the league, Adam Fox, Trouba with another greasy hit. But hey, people are scared of him. I mean, it wasn't just Shesterkin. It was a collective group effort. They deserve to be where they are. One series I was most certainly wrong about, that's for sure. But I'm interested to see, how much rest is too much rest with this Tampa Bay Lightning team. Such a weird setup here, Jeff, with the fact that one team played 2 days ago in game 7. The other team probably played 18 holes 2 days ago. So it's kind of interesting, right? It's like a complete different, complete opposite coming in here at the conference finals.
And when we go to break this game down and break this series down, as you know, I always talk about, if I wasn't invited to the wedding, don't expect me there at the funeral. I was the guy that had Toronto over the Lightning. I was the guy that had the Panthers over the Lightning. Now they're favorites. Again, they don't have home ice. Again, 17-0 the last 3 years after a playoff loss. The fact that they've had a week off, the fact that the Rangers had 2 do-or-die games, game 6 and game 7, 1 day off. And I know the crowd's going to be huge tonight and everything, but just from a mental standpoint, to get to that level again for the 3rd straight time on just 1 day off, I don't like to play the mental game. I'm a market guy. I'm a numbers guy. I just find it hard to believe that in this first game, if there was ever going to be a giveaway game, it would be tonight.
There's so many different narratives that you can build from it, which is why I find it so interesting. Getting right into it about tonight, Jeff, I'm going to call myself a contrarian a little bit here. I think that one of my favorite plays for tonight is the first period over 1.5 goals. And I think that the full game over potentially might not hit. We could see the game settle down after that. The second period features 1 goal. And then if you're at over under better, you're sweating things out in the 3rd period. That's kind of Andrew's blueprint for game 1. That stuff doesn't always go exactly to plan, but I think that we could see both teams get on the score sheet tonight. I think New York scores first, Tampa Bay responds, and the period ends 1-1. I really do think that rest is a good thing for a Tampa Bay team that played so many games, but 8 or 9 days we're talking. I mean, New York coming off of Game 7, playing outstanding, taking advantage of every opportunity that there was given to them. And you're going to laugh at this, but I was comparing on Twitter after Game 7 the New York Rangers to the Montreal Canadiens last year. And I had about 4 or 5 people say, McInnis, come on, man. New York had 110 points this year. The Habs sucked until the playoffs. It was the Canadian division. It was the COVID division. But one thing I like about the Rangers is that hot goaltender, and they take advantage of every opportunity. If they get a breakaway one-on-one, I think they're going to score. 2-on-1, good chance they score. Power play, I'm feeling good about that. What happened in Game 7? Too many men on the ice penalty for Carolina. Thank you very much. Another penalty. I think it was tripping for Carolina. Thank you very much. All of a sudden, it's a 2-goal lead. I really think that we're going to see the first 5 to 10 minutes dominated by New York, actually. And then Tampa kind of wakes up and says, all right, we're back in playoff hockey. Because I don't know if they're going to be able to just immediately on that first shift jump right back into playoff hockey.
And hats off to the Rangers because, as we know, Carolina going into that game was, if my math's correct, 4-3. They were 7-0 at home, 0-6 on the road. And the Bruins couldn't do it. The Rangers couldn't do it for the first 3 games. But what they finally did was someone got ahead of the Hurricanes in Carolina. It wasn't just 1-0, it was 2-0. You add Shesterkin back there, and he made some amazing saves. It wasn't like Carolina didn't show up. I think the pressure finally got to them. Listen, if they got out to a 1 or 2-0 lead, again, they'd be playing the Lightning right now. But it was the Rangers got out early, took advantage of a couple penalties, got the 2-0 lead, and the rest was history.
Absolutely. And, I made a joke to someone the other day about this. I felt bad because Mike Smith has had a pretty good playoffs besides, the game ones, I guess. And, getting scored on from 130 feet away. We kind of mentioned that. But I said to somebody the other day, a 2-goal lead for Shesterkin is like a 4 or 5 goal lead for Mike Smith. I mean, Shesterkin, all he needs is 1 or 2 goals, and then you can sit back and play defense. It really is. So my question I'll ask you is, do you think that New York can win a high-scoring game? Can they win if the score is 5-4 tonight? I'm not saying that's going to be the case, but the recipe for them, I think, is unders. It correlates to them winning, I think.
I think they can win a 5-4 game at Madison Square Garden. I think they can play both styles at Madison Square Garden. If you're looking to get into a shootout in Tampa, especially, they got the last shift move and they got the man behind the pipes looking for his 3rd cup. You're dancing with the devil there.
I love your point there. I agree. And they're a different team at MSG. And they've proven how they come out. And it's all about the start between these two teams, I think. Having a goalie back there like Vasilevsky or Shesterkin to get that first goal for you, to give you a cushion and not chase the game, I think is really important. Special teams should be big. I'm curious to see kind of how these games get called and, how many penalties there are per game, because that should, like last night with the Oilers game, how many power plays were there really, Jeff? Like a couple? I mean, 8-6 game, and it's all 5-on-5 goals. Crazy.
It was like we were watching the Olympic hockey games.
Yeah.
Okay, let's backtrack. Let's go to last night.
Okay.
Before the series started, Avs 2-1 favorites. Listening to the colleagues, watching a lot of shows, reaching out to Vegas. The price with McDavid, with the resurgence of Evander Kane, their offense. Again, Mike Smith is obviously the big question mark. In my eyes, I've been doing with the Celtics, losing game 1, getting the plus money. I think the Oilers' advantage would have been to sit back and wait. If you wanted some action, play the over 6.5, which you got in the second period. Now I'm looking at prices from Circa, Avs -420, Oilers +340. Before we break down last night's game, does pizza and beer money at the Oilers plus 340 at this point intrigue you? Or do you think the Avs win and go up 2-0 and then you just like, well, maybe I'll take a shot at them plus 500 or the series is over?
It does, because what I saw about Colorado's defense was kind of what I thought it was. McKinnon said it best after the game, one down, three more to go, but we don't want to be playing 8-6 games every night. As much as I do think that will benefit them. What I've done, Jeff, actually, I stayed away from a pre-flop wager on the series. DraftKings, FanDuel, MGM, Circa all had different prices on this, but at DraftKings, I was able to give it to my clients minus 130 plus 2.5 games on the Edmonton Oilers. I like doing that kind of stuff. And, I need this series to go 6. I think that I don't think we're going to see Edmonton get demolished. And what I really liked from yesterday was just to see them not give up. I mean, the fact that was 7-4, 7-3, throw in that offside goal. You and I could talk about that for 20 minutes itself. I do think it's worth it if you like the Oilers to win it to play it now, because I think they're gonna give a good effort tomorrow. And sure, going back to Alberta, you're going to get hopefully their best hockey and the last shift change, like you mentioned. But even though they allowed 8, they scored 6, and it was a blowout game at one point. So I think I'm more impressed with the Oilers than some other people might be.
Can I go back last year? And I've brought this up to you a few times. The Avs up 2-0 to Vegas, and then the wheels fell off. Vegas wins 4 in a row. When the Blues won Game 5, I talked to you about that feeling. Here it comes again. And you get to the Blues, you go to St. Louis, and you knew they weren't going to be easy. You were just right there, about to potentially take it to overtime, and the Avs scored with 5 seconds left to win Game 6, and you didn't get that Game 7 where they would have been swiveled up like this. And the Blues 2 years ago were in that spot where they won the cup against my Bruins. Are you starting to feel? I respect, I love the Oilers, but are you starting to feel that the Avs, this is the year? They got it together. Now, listen, they could lose 7-6 tomorrow, and we're going back to Edmonton where they could, put up touchdowns and then walk back to Colorado, tied 2-2, or even up 3-1. Or you're starting to feel, if we had Ruar back there for the Avs right now, I think we'd be feeling even more comfortable, with what he did with them. But is it their year? Are you not just there yet?
Well, it's funny because I'm going to kind of contradict myself, because I just spoke about how I was worried about their defense. But again, they find a way to win in a game they allow 6. That's impressive. I talked about, hey, you give up 8 and you score 6. Well, the contrary is the other side around, where the Avalanche gave up 6, but they scored 8. So it's one of those things where their speed and how many, I love what they've done with their line combinations. I really do. Like over yesterday's game, the way they spread out the offense. If you're a prop player, I hope to God you cashed a prop bet yesterday on the Avalanche. If you had a bet on the Avalanche for props and you didn't win it, let me know what that was. But I'm worried about their defense, Jeff, but their offense is it's out of this world. And every shift, it's a perfect example of hockey. Maybe not defensively, but and a point that was raised that made a lot of sense to me was that although that the Calgary Flames and the Oilers series had so many goals, we didn't see the Flames activate their defensemen very often. And when I heard that, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Now you've got Devon Toews, Johnson, of course, Cale Makar. He's better than most forwards in the league at this point. He jumps into the rush. It's a fourth forward. It's no wonder these games are so high scoring. So pretty much what I'm saying is, from the way I see it, I really think we're going to see, I don't know if we can say David and Goliath, but we're going to see a team in Tampa trying to three-peat and a team in Colorado that's been great for years trying to knock out the old boys. And that's, I think, going to be a really cool storyline if that happens, because from a fan perspective, everyone's going to be cheering for the team that was the favorite. And nobody usually cheers for the favorite, but they're going to want to see Tampa get taken down, So from an odds perspective, I don't think the Oilers are getting enough respect. From a who I think is going to advance perspective, I think Colorado will. But like I said, I bet them plus 2.5 games, Edmonton, to hopefully keep this series close.
So take away yesterday's results. Would you have been comfortable? I don't know what your playbook was. I do know a few people that took this angle. Oilers plus 180, Rangers plus 155 pre-flop, saying if one of the dogs come in, obviously I win at least a half a unit, if not almost a full 2-1 on that. Or are we going to be talking next week and looking at a chalk sandwich, which I can't even call a chalk sandwich because I didn't have the Lightning getting out of the damn first round. I had the Avs. I have the Avs plus money to win the Western Conference. I have them winning the Stanley Cup. But with that said, I had them versus the Panthers, or I had them versus the Leafs. I didn't have the Lightning. Now, we could be sitting back saying, Jesus, preseason, two-time defending Stanley Cup champs versus the Avs. I mean, I was blindsided. But would you have suggested, hey, take both dogs, you'll have opportunities to hedge pre-flop as you did. You were smart there, took the 2.5, only minus 130, and they get me to game 6 and we're cashing.
Well, I don't know. I think for the Oilers, I probably would have just took it another step further and taken the cup, because if you're already taking that plus, I mean, call me greedy, but if you're already going to go that far and taking them to pull that big upset against Colorado and head to the big dance, why can't they outscore Tampa or New York? Because clearly they can score goals right now. Their defense is the issue, you know. That's kind of the way I looked. Maybe I'm just too safe of a guy, but that's the strategy of the plus 2.5 is kind of more so what I looked for. I'll tell you what, I think that New York could win game 1, and the series odds are going to be all, fumbled in that game tonight. I mean, what do you think we see as far as the series price, Jeff, if New York takes game 1?
They have to go to favorites. They will go to favorites. They were up 1-0. Currently, I said the number was 180 and 155.
Yeah.
You would get probably the Lightning now at even money. And here's the big factor, which maybe it won't jump as much as that streak now comes into play game 2, 17-0 after a loss. So anyone that bets the Lightning in the series and the Rangers steal one, they're doubling down in game 2.
Yeah.
Right now, Tampa Bay is minus 123 at Circa as we speak. You'll probably see them at least minus 140 opening number for game 2 with that streak on the line, with the fact that they're down 0-1.
I mean, just like yesterday, where I hoped that Edmonton lost game 1, I hope the favorite wins tonight, and I can jump in and take Tampa. Because New York's favorites tonight, right? So sorry, Tampa Bay's favorite. My fault. So I guess I have to hope that New York takes it, though. Same thing, same style of thinking, though. Same style of thinking. I'm hoping that New York takes it at home, and then I get a better price, like you just talked about with even money and stuff like that, towards Tampa Bay. So I haven't really played much prior to the series because I love the ability to just adjust after game 1 or after game 2. What's the old fashioned saying? A series is not over until you lose a game at home, So when you look at a team that has home ice advantage at the Garden, I mean, let's talk about this here. Tampa Bay, the way they play at home. Would you agree with me that they're happy with a split in New York? I think they're more than happy with a split.
I have to believe that they are extremely happy with the split. I think, don't forget, this is the first time that they have been favored, okay, in a series. This is the first time they've been favored on the road. They were dogs
Right.
every game in Toronto, and then they were dogs every game, bigger, like 140 dogs at Florida. So they've found a way to steal a game on the other opponent's ice, and they've come home and they've held serve at home. Um, they had a tougher time, obviously, with the Leafs than they did with the Panthers.
Yeah. It's well, actually, one thing interesting about this matchup, I will say that kind of helps out New York. Tampa Bay hasn't played a team that excels in low scoring games yet. Toronto, they're kind of a pond hockey team. Florida, definition of that, but they couldn't score. Then it was a soccer net in that series. But now they're playing a team that is comfortable as well in those low scoring games. So I give credit to John Cooper for going from a series like the Toronto series to a series like how they played against Florida, because maybe they didn't plan for this, but it looked like they said, you know what, Florida would love for us to trade goals with them. Let's try and park the bus after a goal or two and win low scoring games. That's what they did. And now you talk about public perception. All I'm seeing on social media, first period under, this guy's shots on goal under, full game under 5 plus money. And that's kind of the don't overthink it concept. Same thing with the Western Conference with the over. So I say this, if New York can, get Tampa into that low scoring concept, I think it benefits them big time. But the point that you made about them playing at MSG, winning a high scoring game there, to me, I think that is the X factor in this series. Do you think I'm making too much out of this? But I really think that that's a big deal in this series, that Shesterkin cannot be the main story, even though everybody wants him to be. If they win this series, it'll be in probably 7 games or 6. And I don't think in order to get there, they're all going to be 3-1 victories.
100% agree. I think you're spot on. I think you're spot on. And as much as we wanted, or I wanted to take my hat off to Shesterkin, I think it was more for game 6 to get them to game 7.
Mm.
They got out 2-0. The comfortability became, all right, it's not 0-0, because I said before that game, he's going to have to give up 1. It's going to have to be, 1-0, 2-1, something of that scoring. But the Rangers took it upon themselves, got a couple quick ones. And as you said, 2-0 lead with the Rangers. I mean, don't get me wrong. Any team called the Lightning or the Avs can come back from 2-0 against the Rangers. Okay. Mm-hmm. But it's a lot different when you were facing a Hurricane team. And I just think tonight, the intro, the electricity, the Ranger fans bid adieu going to game 7, saying, thanks. It's been a great season. Love to see you back on Wednesday night. We're not expecting it. We're hoping it. And now they're rewarded with the game.
What do you think about what I said there about New York playing 2 days later? Is it a good thing or a bad thing for them?
I initially think it's a bad thing from a mental standpoint, because they were do or die game 6, do or die game 7, day off. Now I think there's a sense of relief, because now there is, we don't have to win today. It's someone's going to win 4 games. Where Tampa's rested, will we see rust? As you said, were they playing here, playing golf yesterday or the day before? Packed their bags and they said, all right, now we're going to head up to MSG. We got a couple games to take care of. I did like the golf, but shit, we got to go back to work now.
I saw a funny video on YouTube. It was Steph Curry going to get his irons fitted. And it was like, people were like, man, this guy's about to go to the NBA finals and he's getting his golf clubs ready for the summer. It's like, hey, I mean, these guys are humans too, and they do things to distract themselves and stuff. But like you mentioned, I mean, I think is it 8 or 9 days? I think it was 8 days off. That's a long time for an athlete. I mean, if you and I were talking right now and it was the first week of January, I know myself and I know I'd be telling you, well, this team had the longest Christmas break. So I'm going to bet the over. I'm going to see some goals, hopefully some sloppiness. So why should I feel any different? Well, because it's Vasilevsky and because it's Shesterkin. But that's why, Jeff, I've never really had like a quote for quote best bet on a first period over. It's kind of just like, I think this game has a fast start, first period over. I'm going to put that on my card. Tonight, I really could see a fast start and things slowing down. So that's where I'm going with it. And I think as far as player props go, a guy I really like, and this is kind of a sneaky one, Victor Hedman to record an assist tonight, and that's at even money at plus 100. Someone that's gets a lot of shots, but even his shot props, the juice is too high to try and make some money off that. The assist prop for him and the way he moves the puck up the ice. Last night, I got Devon Tays to get a point at minus 130. He plays alongside Cale Makar. His team scored 8 goals, and we're getting Hedman at the best, one of the best defensemen on the ice, I believe. Maybe Adam Fox would have something to say about it down the road, but to get an assist, any thoughts on that?
I love where your eyes are. You are the prop king. And when you're seeing the board and the ice and the frozen pond like you are, I agree. I 100%. I have, when it comes to props, let's just say I follow the true experts, and I tell you like no other when it comes to props. I'm the pre-flop specialist. I'll dive into individual games, or if I see some value or something. So I guess where I was going was tonight, 8 o'clock, rotation number 31-32. Obviously, Tampa at the Mecca. The opening line was Tampa minus 120. The current line at Circa is minus 123. And over under that opened at 5.5, over minus 110. Now 5.5 juiced under at minus 120 at Circa. To all the listeners, to all the people watching or will download at their favorite podcast platform later today, give them you don't have to dump your whole playbook here. Give them something, let's say, to chew on.
I think it's a real possibility. We see the home team win game one here. We haven't seen Tampa Bay play their best in these playoffs in game one. Even against the Florida Panthers, it was kind of a tight one. Look back to that Maple Leaf series. We saw Toronto get off to a great start in that series. I think tonight we could see a battle, and at the plus money, I'll take that with New York at home. And potentially, if everything goes the way I like it to go, jump back in on Tampa to win the series at an even better price than what we're getting right now. That's the ideal plan. But I talked about it quite a few times, and I'm sticking with it. I think, how often do you really get an over 1.5 first period at minus 110 or 15? With most matchups, that's like a 145, 160. I mean, I'm pretty sure the over 2 in yesterday's game with Colorado was still like a minus price. That is my favorite play out there. Chris Kreider's shots on goal, over 3.5 shots on goal, is one I have locked in, and the Victor Hedman assist prop is one I really like quite a bit. Also, Jeff, one more week, the clock's ticking. Next Wednesday, we'll be talking some Canadian football. I can't wait.
I can't wait for that either. I'm going to throw one soft lob at you. You are the sports book. You are the director. Tomorrow night, are you putting out a 7 or a 7.5 for the under over?
7.5.
Juiced under?
Juiced under. I think I've seen some right already, but I think that's where I'd be going. I don't think we see an under, Jeff, until game 3 or maybe game 4 in Alberta, Canada. How about that?
I got right now at Circa 7 over minus 140. At the Nuggets, 7 over minus 135. The FanDuel and DraftKings are putting the 7.5s It's kind of funny. His FanDuel 7.5 under -134, and DraftKings 7.5 under -130.
Maybe I might even say if you're on the over, just take the 7.5 because I feel like it's going to be either one. I think it's going to either be one of each. It's going to be one or the other. It's going to be a 4-2 game or it's going to be another 7-3. I don't think it's going to be anywhere in between. I think if you're the only time you'll be sweating a bet will be if you're sweating an under in this series. I don't think getting a 7 or 7.5. You're betting the over. Take the 7.5. Bankroll management. I think that why take the -130 something? Take that 7.5. You're confident in the over, so that half a goal. And this is coming from a guy that usually says, "Well, I'll buy the half if it's a 5.5 versus a 6." We're talking about 7s and 7.5s here. You can't. If you love a 7, 7 to the over. You better like it enough to be willing to take the 7.5 too. What do you think about that? Am I wrong for saying that? It's a high
You're
price.
100% correct. I mean, obviously, a 6.5, right? You're saying 3-3, you're a winner. 4-2, empty netter. You're just figuring out how can I get to 7. When you're talking 7.5s, all right, is it 4-3 and you get the empty netter, or is it 4-3 and you get the game tire? With these two teams, I mean, go back to Calgary, the series before. Initially, they said, "Hey, we don't want to go into a gunfight here. We're going to try to play our style." And then after the first period, there's like, the hell with it. It's just guns a blazing.
The gloves are off, and here we go. First to 8 wins. I really think that in that series, in the Colorado and Edmonton series, you're better off playing props in a lot of these games. On my show, my co-host Carmine, we both went 3-0 with our props, and I felt good about myself. But he had goal scorers, and I had points. So I was like, "Oh, I went 3-0, and it was all like -120." He had like 3-0 with like +200, +140. Even McKinnon. People used to laugh at me, Jeff, when I would say, "Yeah, take +120 on McDavid to score a goal." How could you ever bet a -120 on a guy to score a goal? Well, how about McKinnon yesterday? He was like a +113, 15. Works out pretty well. It's like betting Devontae Adams to get a touchdown. If it works out, it works out.
I'll throw this last one at you. The resurgence of Kane, should you just keep playing him on the points and the props? I mean, the guy has just been electric.
Yeah, I think that even if you don't want to get to the window with the goal prop for him, even the over 1.5 points is a really good option. Zach Hyman too. He's a guy. Zach Hyman with his shots on goal, or Zach Hyman to get a point. I think he was -120 yesterday to get a point.
Well, until we see some kind of, I don't even want to say defense, because listen, these two teams were made for each other. This is what playoff hockey is all about. Win and go to the cup, lose and you come join me on the golf course.
I feel like it's like you're watching a UFC fight and the guys are just trading for 3 straight rounds, just absolutely ripping each other's heads apart, but no one will go down. And that's what I remember on the Canadian broadcast yesterday, between the second and third period, the host asked around, "Is this game over?" And I was like, "Why the hell is he asking that? The game's obviously over." And all of a sudden it's a 1-goal game again. I was like, I guess they were right. The game wasn't over. My girlfriend was asking me, "Can we watch the show? Can we watch a show on the big screen TV?" And I was like, it's a blowout. Maybe we can watch a show. And then all of a sudden it's a 1-goal game again. I'm like, we're not watching a show together until the game's over.
Happy life, happy wife. Remember that.
Yes. Tonight's a movie night, so we're good.
The scroll has been working the whole time. At McInnis Picks, at Wager Talk, at Sports Mayflower. Go to YouTube, Mayflower Sports. Subscribe. It's free. Tell a friend. Tell your neighbor. Tell anyone that wants to listen. Tell the listeners what they can do, where they can follow you, Andrew. Any good specials going on for the weekend, the rest of the month. And as you said, next Wednesday, we will be talking some CFL.
Yeah, I can't wait for that. We'll do a little preview of each team. We'll definitely have some picks. I have a big UFC pick going this Saturday night, Jeff. I got it up early in the week. Usually kind of wait to see the weigh-ins and that kind of stuff, but I liked it. That's one I've been looking at for a little while, and that's up for grabs at Wager Talk. And other than that, the Mayflower YouTube channel, we're trying to line up actually a fellow Bostonian, Brad Marchand. Well, not really a Bostonian, a Nova Scotian, but plays in Boston. We're trying to line him up for an interview, which would be amazing. And we're doing musicians, owners of clothing companies, and all that different stuff. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff for podcast interviews, check us out over there, and all my betting stuff at Wager Talk. But tune in next Wednesday. It'll be a really fun show. Last week, pretty much Jeff predicted all my plays before he even, without even doing research, just knowing the markets. That's what he does. So we'll see what happens next week.
Can't thank you enough. Can't wait till next week till we cross that border again. But until then, always, always, always remember this. If you are wagering or investing today, please do it responsibly. If you do have a problem, pick up the phone. There's an 800 number available. Ask for help, please. Why? Myself and Andrew care. We want to see you here today, tomorrow, next week, next month, through 2022 and beyond. From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Andrew McInnis at McInnis Picks at Wager Talk. We bid you adieu. We wish you the best today. Enjoy the Stanley Cup playoffs. If you like action, you got plenty of it. The Mecca will be rocking tonight. Andrew gave us some nice props, some parting gifts on what to do tonight, and even if the Rangers win tonight. So have a day, and we will see you soon.